Hello and welcome back to TED Talks Truth and Reality about just build it and they will come. What is it, you may ask? And I say build you, build self, build your dream within you. And people will want to be around you and your personal aura. A persona will admit that you consciously and vigilantly constructed through good thoughts and good actions, or as I found out, by not making bad choices or doing bad deeds. I am not claiming I found a better way. I am only saying in my unique words and in my own way that all you need to build your field of dreams is the want and will to begin to do the right thing on your search for self-truth. Many enlightened souls have said it far better and more concise and more precise than me, but other mortals over the years have clouded, distorted, and altered the truth of those words by trying to reinterpret or explain and put it into their own words, or better stated, attempting to describe their personal view of things. And if there's anything at all that you should have gleaned from my talk so far, because I've said it so many times, it is impossible to capture the exact meaning intended by others, especially when they are not here to defend the truth, the reality, and the spiritual essence of their earthly words. Rarely has an author had the opportunity to give an honest overview or updated view of what led them to pick and choose the words written in their book. The internet affords me that opportunity, and I want to be absolutely certain the essence, the meaning, and the intentions of my choice in words are totally and fully understood by you, so you can begin your quest for your own self-truth. Now back to my journey. After I sent my book to Glenn Beck's publishing company, I felt certain my dream was built, and everyone would be rushing to buy my book and begin their own quest for self-enlightenment. And any little success would help bail us out of the financial peril that we had fallen into because of the economy. But, as usual, the best laid plans and schemes went astray. Honestly, my wife and I desperately needed the money and felt any success from the book would help us out of trouble. Over the last 12 years, we had endured 8 named hurricanes that devastated our restaurant. Besides those physical hardships inflicted by Mother Nature, we suffered the drastic regulatory impositions of the federal government and the self-centered concerns of environmentalists who together wanted to impose their beliefs and views onto the oldest community in America. Their combined attack did more harm and damage than the storms did. You can patch up and fix physical damage, the damage to the American spirit and the American way of life we had grown to take for granted was something different and impossible to control or even prepare for. But nonetheless, they meaning the government and the environmentalists, were slowly destroying a once proud, independent, self-reliant community with more rules and more regulations that hurt the overall economy of the island. I covered this unwanted intrusion into our community on Hatteras Island, and the destruction of the historic lifestyle enjoyed by its inhabitants for over 400 years, I explain my view in great depth in Book 2, called Freedom, when I dissect the various definitions and meanings of the word freedom and its counterpart, liberty. Book 1 is entitled Self-Enlightenment. And I was absolutely certain anyone reading it with an open mind and a loving heart would absorb and digest the essence of the words laid out in my truth tale, which when comprehended would help you better understand the detailed stories and conclusion expressed in Book 2, as I laid out how and why the words freedom and liberty have been distorted and altered by selfism, and clearly point out the various forms and unusual shapes it has morphed into, and how its unconscious demonic possession of people who believe their interpretations are better than previous definitions by others is actually destroying America and the world in general. Because I am using the internet to help me clearly and clarify the essence of my story by sharing the innermost operations of my mind and the influence of my heart on this tale, I hope it helps you grasp the sincerity, honesty, and transparency of my quest and my journey to explain to you how I uncovered and discovered through self-enlightenment the effects selfism has on each of us and in the world and in America in general. However, after I had sent my book off to Glenn Beck's publishing company, I was surprised as I didn't get an immediate glowing response from them. Matter of fact, I got none. And in October, after the government shutdown, because we are an island controlled by the park services, business just disappeared. And the desperation was even a little more than I had expected. So I took what monies I had left on my credit card and decided that I would go to Dallas, Texas, and since the mountain didn't come to me, I'd go to Glenn Beck's power base and visit his fortress and see if I can break in and get my story heard and told. Well, it was nearly impossible to get through the protective guards they had, and I was unable to get to the show, and I was unable to reach him in my countless emails and phone calls. And while I was being held at the door, I happened to be looking up at the monitor, and I was listening to his current program, and he was talking about how a friend of his had made a ton of money in the internet publishing and pushing books. And I said, well, maybe this was the reason I made this trip to Dallas. And because I had bought a Priceline ticket, which meant I had to stay there for 4 more days, I went back to my hotel and got on the internet and began studying about ebooks and said, this must be the reason I came to Dallas. And I called a friend back on the island and said, can we get my books, Book 1 and Book 2, on Amazon? And he said, yes, that's something that's pretty easy to do. And I asked him to begin that. And so in November we started figuring out how to get them on Amazon in an ebook form, because I said, well, this must be the route I was supposed to go. I got back, we got to Book 1 on the end right a day after Christmas, and Book 2 was a little bit later, and I said, oh, now I really have built my dream, and everyone's going to rush and buy the book. Well, again, some surprises occurred, and no one rushed to buy the book because no one knew about it. And then I was faced with, what do I do now? I thought, well, maybe he meant, or I should be on YouTube. That's the internet phenomenon that maybe I was supposed to get from watching and overhearing Glenn Beck's program that day. So in February, as I discussed in previous episodes, I began my plan to appear before you on the internet. And besides the problems with the business. I was starting to have some health problems from my prostate cancer, and I was going through a series of CAT scans and testing, and I wasn't concerned because the enlightenment or the truth that I discovered during my journey made me realize to waste your time and energy of worrying about what might be or what could be was just that, a waste of precious time. And I needed to concentrate on today and tomorrow. And if I keep the faith and the hope, eventually something would happen. And I began that quest to try and get on YouTube, which I covered in detail, like I said, in the previous episodes. However, one of the things I didn't talk to you about was that in April, after my last failure to begin this series, right after Easter, I said, well, I am going to definitely get on by and on the 4th of July. And I made this bold statement to myself: not even a hurricane is going to keep me from beginning this series on 4th of July. It was my mother's birthday. Symbolically, that meant something. And also it was the birth of America and liberty and the belief in the pursuit of happiness. And all those things were involved in my tale. However, the fates or the demons or the bad things in life popped up, and for the very first time on the 4th of July, we had a hurricane. Hurricane Arthur came and destroyed that plan. I actually almost destroyed my business totally. Even after having all the problems, it blew my signs down. The best 6 days of the summer were non-existent because we were unable to open, and I was faced with more problems. And however, I didn't lose the faith. I said, well, I'm still going to get on, and I'm still going to get in front of the world, and I'm still going to tell my story, and I'm still going to affect someone or just one, and maybe I'll sell some books in the process. So I kept that faith and that hope and that positive attitude, and I began this series. As if you've been following me, you know. And then it led up to today. And today I am talking about my dreams and your dreams. Build it and they will come. I have built a structure that I have set out in my previous talks, and that's my outline and what I'm going to try and bring to you and answer for you in the future. I just need your patience and your time and your ears to listen up to what I am going to cover in my next most important episode on the 3rd of September. So until then, Godspeed.